All right, well, welcome back to another edition of Why Do Lutherans Do What We Do? Today we're going to be talking all about communion. And I'm confused about some of the aspects of the Lutheran Church and communion, so I'm going to talk to some experts. Today, we're talking about something we do in church
Communion.
with bread and wine. Yes, communion. All right, so do you know what communion means?
I think it means like where you like celebrate Jesus and like how he shared with all the people one piece of bread.
Okay.
It's where we, communion is like community where we all come and eat bread and wine.
Okay, it sounds like community.
Yeah.
The body of Christ and the
Blood of God.
Another word for this, sometimes a churchy word, is called Eucharist.
Oh, what?
Yeah. Do you want to guess what that word
That's
means?
a weird word. Communion.
It does mean, well, it's similar to communion. It's a weird word. Do you want to guess what I think it means?
No.
Jesus, maybe. Another word for communion is the Eucharist. What do you think that means?
Communion.
Okay, yeah. Well, yeah, it has its own meaning.
Maybe it's like when Jesus was sacrificed.
Does it sound like any words you know?
Ukulele.
All right, so why in the middle of church do we stop to have bread and wine? Why do you
Because
think?
that's what they ate at the Last Supper.
Okay, they ate at the Last Supper? Okay. Not because we want a snack.
That's also partly the reason for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, you need a little bit of a snack.
Yeah.
You're getting hungry before lunch. Yeah.
Even though we literally get like
Yeah.
And she gets pieces of paper.
That's true, yeah, gluten-free communion.
To celebrate when Jesus shared with all the people.
I know.
Okay, yeah, what do you think, Sonia?
Wait, no, I don't. In the middle of supper, Jesus took the bread and broke it and said, "This is my body given for you in the remembrance of me."
Wow, yeah, that's pretty great. Yeah.
And after supper, he took the cup and said, "This is my blood shed for you in the remembrance of me."
Wow, I think you got that spot on there, Maya. You've been paying attention. In communion, the pastor will say, this is, what Jesus says, this is my body and this is my blood. What does that mean? Do you think this is blood when we drink this?
It's
Yes.
wine, but we're acting like it's blood because it's a liquid like blood.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't want to drink even grape juice anymore.
yeah.
yeah, you.
That's pretty
No,
gross,
no,
yeah, to
yeah.
drink somebody's blood, unless you're a vampire. Do you think we have vampires in this church?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, probably. Yeah.
Pretty much that, well, Jesus is kind of sharing himself with us.
Okay. And then also in church, the pastor will say, welcome here at the table, all are welcome. What does that mean, all are welcome? Yeah, what do you think?
That everyone can come and they don't have to like be invited to this church. They can just like come, even if they're new.
Everyone's welcome to come have food.
It means everybody is welcome.
Okay, everybody? What about vampires?
Yes.
Even vampires?
They'd enjoy the wine.
All right, Pastor David, some of our expert children
Excellent.
were a little bit confused on some of the
Sure.
reasons why we do communion.
I can get that. Okay, maybe we can clear some things up.
So first off, what does the word communion mean?
Yeah, well, communion really means oneness or togetherness, right? So it's
Okay.
oneness with another being, and in this case, we're experiencing this meal that allows us to have oneness with God. And so it's a way that we come together as a community, that might sound like communion, right? In order to have that meal with God.
Okay, and some fancy church word like this is the Eucharist.
Eucharist, yeah.
What does that mean?
Yeah, so Eucharist is a fancy word from the Greek. It means thanksgiving. It comes from the same word that means grace. And so it's another way that we describe this meal in which we are giving thanks for the grace that God gives us.
Okay, so why in the middle of church do we stop to eat bread and wine? Why do we use bread and wine?
I mean, other than the fact that we're hungry and want a snack?
Yeah, so that's what as a theory from our children.
Sure.
Yeah.
So we use bread and wine in the simplest version because that's what Jesus used, right?
Okay.
Jesus gathered with his disciples at the Last Supper on what we now call Maundy Thursday, and had this meal. And during that meal, he shared bread and he shared wine with his disciples. And he said, "Do this in remembrance of me." And so we do the same thing that Jesus did. We trace those words all the way back to the words that Jesus shared with his disciples so that we can join in that same meal.
All right, and then we say this is not just bread and wine. This is Jesus' body and blood.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Well, so Jesus in that same meal said that that's what these things represented, that this represented Jesus' body and Jesus' blood. Some people will tell you that this literally becomes the body of Jesus, that you're no longer eating bread, you're actually now eating the flesh of Jesus. In the Lutheran Church, we don't think that's true. What we think is happening is that Jesus' presence is fully with this bread. And so you can look at it and you can taste it and you can say, this is still bread. But it's now not just the sandwich bread that you used in lunch yesterday. It's now bread that contains the presence of Jesus. And it's wine that contains the presence of Jesus. So when we eat of the body and blood, we are eating the presence of Jesus, and Jesus is fully with us.
And here at Lord Life, at the beginning of every one of our, celebrations of communion, we like to say, all are welcome.
Absolutely. Come to this
why do
table.
we say that?
Why do we say that? Well, so the main reason I say that and why we say that at Lord of Life is because we believe this is God's meal and not ours, right? We might be hosting this, we might be inviting this people to this meal, but it's God's meal ultimately. And so it's not for us to say who's allowed and who's not allowed at this meal. God says everybody should come and be a part of this because God's grace is a gift for everybody.
All right, well, thank you so much. That is
Absolutely.
communion.
My pleasure.
Yes.